And the book collaboration was during COVID. So y'all know people weren't meeting like this. Everything was on Zoom. It took us years to meet each other in person. But on that Zoom, we connected and been connected ever since. And so I cannot express enough to people how important it is for us to heal from our own trauma. Because had I not dealt with my own trauma and really dealt with it to heal from it, when God sent her in my life, I would not have known that she's a person that I'm supposed to hold on to. I would not have known that we would be there for each other, to support each other through things that come up in life. You know, they say life be lifing. But to have you like in my life that way, and not only you in my life to pour into me, but for me to be able to give it right back to you. And so can you talk about that a little bit? Like what does that mean for you? And then why do you do what you do?
I'm so glad you shared your story, what you just said, because we're going to tell the truth and shame the devil, right? As a leader, and for you to say how, you had to get past your trauma, it's crazy because when God sent you to me, I had to get past my trauma. See, I was under leadership where I was spiritually abused, right? So I had leaders that mishandled me because I was gifted. So it brought some intimidation. Instead of pulling it out of me, they tried to suffocate me. And see, when you go through things, when people do things to you, you have a choice. You can either you can become that person or you cannot become that person. And I believe, and I know God allowed me to go through that process to know what not to do. It wasn't to hold any bitterness. You get what? Because he knew that someone deserved to be treated right, even though I didn't see the dots. So that process of being hurt wasn't even about me. It was for her. Right? And so what we go through is not even really for us. It's for the next person. And so I realized I also knew what I needed. I knew that I needed the gifts spoken to. And sometimes I didn't even know what I had. But if God had given them the ability to see at a different level, why couldn't you pull that out of me? And so I said, I'll never be what was done to me. As spiritual mothers, as real mothers, I'm not talking about narcissistic parents.
Come on.
I'm talking about as real parents, just in the natural, not spiritual. You want your kids to do better than you. That's why we stay on them. We say, you know better doing this because I want you to not make the same mistakes that I made. That's what we tell them. And it's the same thing in the spiritual. When your daughters go past you, when your sons go past you, you don't get jealous. You don't get envious. You don't stop pouring. You keep pulling because it speaks a lot about who you are. It takes nothing away from me to see her soar. It takes nothing away because we're all unique. We all have our own level. It's just something in my belly that she needed to thrust her. And so, I do what I do because I know God gave me purpose to do it. And you have to be a secure leader or God will not trust you. These are God's children. She's my spiritual daughter, but she belongs to God. This is why leaders, when they realize that people belong to God and not them, they won't have a Pharaoh spirit. They'll know how to let people go and release them when it's time for them to walk in what God has for them. That's right. We don't have Pharaoh spirits when you are a leader of the fruit of with the fruit of the Spirit. And so I do what I do because I know that God said, I brought you for this assignment because I trust you with my child. And if you give me a yes, obey me, and you operate by what I say, you don't hurt. You don't abuse. You don't manipulate. And so I do what I do because that's what God is. That's who he is. And she has to tap into, I always say, your yes is connected to someone else's destiny. So the longer that you're sitting here waiting, that person has not made a step because you haven't came forth. And so to answer that question again, I do what I do because God gave me an assignment and I gave him a yes, and he trusts me with it, and he trusts me with his child.